Revealed, the incredible truth about my $500,000 trust fund that will touch your heart forever. Jake Thompson had never thought much about wealth. In his small rural town, where hard work ruled the day and sweat-soaked shirts were a badge of honor, he'd grown up learning that true riches lay in community and grit. But that all changed one fateful Saturday afternoon. Sorting through the dusty old boxes in his father's garage, he stumbled upon a stack of letters. As he unfolded the pages, his heart raced. "You are the beneficiary of a $500,000 trust fund." Just like that, the unmistakable legacy of a grandfather he had never known slammed into him. Wealth from a man who had traded family for fortune, a betrayal he could hardly process. The sun streamed through the window, illuminating Jake's face as emotions clawed at him. Disbelief filled him, mixing with ancestral shame. His grandfather's choices echoed in his mind, stark against the values his father fought to uphold. The thought of accepting that money felt wrong, like spitting on the shoes of the blue-collar ancestors who fought for every nickel. He could hear his father's voice, steady as the engine of a truck, teaching him the importance of self-reliance, dignity, and honest labor. How could he stand in his father's shadow, clutching a treasure that felt tarnished? Word of the trust fund spread throughout the town like wildfire. Whispers filled the diner, residents casting furtive glances in his direction. Some murmured with envy, others with suspicion. The tight-knit community, where bonds of support were forged in fields and workshops, began to fracture. He could feel the weight of their eyes on him, every judgment leaping off their tongues whenever they passed him. Jake found himself wrestling with a storm of emotions, torn between familial loyalty and the stranglehold of greed gnawing at him. But then, a light flickered amid the darkness of uncertainty. One evening, while helping the local high school football team with their car washes, he listened to a group of teenagers lament their dreams of a college education slipping through their fingers due to the crippling costs. Their hopes echoed in the summer air, illuminating his heart with a spark that shattered his inner conflict. What if he could use that money for something greater? Something to uplift his community, to honor the values he believed in? The thought sent a rush through him, transforming the trust fund from a source of shame into a potential force for good. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake sat on the edge of the bleachers, contemplating this new perspective, he felt a stirring of hope blossom within him. Perhaps he could set up scholarships, invest in community projects, and prove that value could be found in both hard work and unexpected fortune. But just as a wave of clarity washed over him, his phone buzzed in his pocket, sending chills down his spine. The caller ID read "Grandfather." The voice that came through was gruff and thick with authority, demanding a final confrontation. Jake's heart raced as he realized he was at a crossroads. Could he embrace this legacy without losing himself, or would stepping into that complex web tear apart everything he held dear? How did he reconcile the past with the future without erasing the faded values of sacrifice and community that defined him? The weight of the decision loomed larger than ever, the wind around him whispering of change. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he pressed the phone tightly against his ear. The voice on the other end felt like a ghost from a past he had never known, a mixture of authority and an unclaimed inheritance that sent a jolt of confusion through him. "Jake," the voice grumbled, steeped in an undeniable sense of gravity, "it's time we talked." "About what?" Jake managed to reply, steeling himself against the torrent of emotions crashing around inside him. Anger, confusion, and a flicker of curiosity battled for dominance in his chest. "About the trust, and about your future. You need to understand what this legacy really means," the grandfather's voice continued, speckled with impatience and a hint of urgency that unsettled Jake even further. Jake hesitated, caught between an urge to hang up and the relentless wanting to understand the man who shaped his family's fate without ever holding his hand. "Why did you leave it to me?" he asked, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. "What did you want from me?" There was a beat of silence that stretched, heavy and thick. I wanted to give you a choice, the grandfather finally admitted, an unexpected softness creeping into his tone. I'm not proud of the decisions I made when I was younger, but the world is different now, Jake. You can do better. Those last words struck a nerve. Better. What did that even mean? They felt impossible to reconcile with the man who had put wealth before family. And yet, here he was, left with a decision that could either redeem that legacy or forever mar his own name. With the conversation clamoring in his mind, Jake glanced out over the football field. The lights illuminated the laughter and camaraderie of his friends, the people he cared for most. If he chose to follow through with this legacy, would he still belong among them? Would they stand by him, or would the whispers of envy and betrayal haunt him as they had before? I need time, he said, grounding himself with the immediate sense of control that echoed in his words. Time is something you don't have, came the compelling response. People are waiting. I'll be in town next week. We need to discuss your plans and I expect you to have some. The finality in his voice left no room for argument, an ominous shadow shading the future Jake once saw so clearly. Jake hung up the phone, his heart racing. The clouds above seemed more ominous now, mirroring his inner turmoil. Who could he turn to? His dad would be supportive and wise, but how could he explain the weight of this decision? Would he trust the community to understand his choices, or would he lose them in the pursuit of something his grandfather deemed a better future? Just then, a voice pulled him from his thoughts. It was Sarah, his childhood friend, and the local high school's debate team captain. Hey, Jake. Are you coming back to help us with the car wash? Her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, completely unaware of the storm raging in his heart. Her smile felt like a balm, a reminder of everything he loved. But with that came the truth that he might be forced to choose between this community and the tangled web of wealth he was now tied to. As he approached her, a question began to form, one that danced at the edge of his mind. Could he really honor his values while reaching for something more? Or would he forever be caught in the push and pull of family expectations versus his own dreams? Before he could gather his thoughts, Sarah leaned in playfully. You know, I've been thinking, how cool would it be to host a fundraiser next month? Something big. With your help, we could make it happen. Her innocent enthusiasm crashed into the walls Jake had built around his uncertainty. It was a reminder that even in the midst of confusion, there would still be moments worth fighting for, and maybe ways to bridge the past and future. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting everything in warm hues, Jake caught a glimpse of possibility. But could he embrace the legacy of a man he never knew, while staying true to who he was? The choice felt impossibly heavy. And with every beat of his heart, he realized his steps toward understanding would lead him down a path he was yet to uncover, with consequences that might change everything he knew. How could one seemingly simple decision hold the power to redefine not just his life, but the very fabric of his community? As Jake stood there, caught between Sarah's bright smile and the weight pressing down on his chest, he felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Here was a girl who saw the light in him, who believed in possibilities, but inside, he felt like an anchor dragging him down. Jake? Sarah's voice broke through his reverie. You okay? He nodded, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine happiness. Yeah, just, a lot on my mind. The words fell flat, yet he didn't want to share the whirlwind brewing within. Well, it sounds like you could use a break. How about it? A car wash, some sunshine, and a few laughs? It could lift your spirits. The idea tugged at him. A day full of community, camaraderie, and normalcy might be just what he needed. He glanced at the field again, the laughter of his friends echoing in the background, rooting him deeper into the reality he loved. But for how long? Sure. I'll help, Jake replied. Despite the unease still tangled in his gut.as they made their way back to the car wash. Jake wrestled with the contrast of the past and future slamming against each other. He'd seen the community rally together in times of need, reminding him of the bonds built on shared history. But the tumult of the looming legacy threatened to unravel all of it. The bright morning sun streamed down, warming his face as Jake grabbed a bucket and sponge. He threw himself into work, washing cars while trying to drown out the echoes of his grandfather's voice. But the harder he scrubbed, the more the weight returned, like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave. "This one a toughie," he joked, trying to lighten the mood as he dunked a sponge into the soap-filled bucket. "Oh please, this one?" Sarah laughed, resting her hands on her hips. "You should be doing my car next, then." Her teasing was infectious. With every splash and bubble, Jake felt a temporary reprieve from the heavy thoughts. They bantered back and forth with the other students, laughter blending with the sounds of water splashing, yet, even amidst the fun, his mind kept drifting back to what lay ahead, like a shadow trailing his every step. Would he have the courage to walk into that meeting next week, knowing that it could either open doors or close off everything he cherished? Just then, as a familiar face approached the car wash, excitement surged through the group. It was Tyler, Jake's best friend, and the glue that held the crew together. "Hey, what is going on here? Looks like a party." Tyler grinned, seeking out the fun. "Just trying to wash away our worries." Jake responded, grinning as he soaked Tyler with a sudden splash of water. "Careful, man. I just got this shirt." Tyler laughed, shaking his head as he wiped his brow. "Hey, what were you talking about earlier? Heard something about fundraising? Count me in." Jake hesitated for a moment, surprise flickering through him. Could they really pull this off? A fundraiser could rally not just support for their team, but also distract him from the whirlwind swirling in his life. "Sure. Why not?" he replied, the idea sprouting wings as adrenaline kicked in. But would this be a bridge toward the future or a retreat from his reality? Sarah chimed in, "Let's throw something epic. Raffle prize? Bake sale? Maybe a dunk tank?" Her excitement was palpable, and suddenly he saw paths unfolding, different closures of what could happen next. As the sun climbed higher, Jake found himself caught again in a moment of clarity. He had the chance to shape his path, not just for himself, but perhaps for the community he cherished. Could this fundraiser be his first step, not just toward bridging family expectations but also towards owning his own choices? Just then, as they rallied to finalize their plans, Jake's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. He flinched, the sense of foreboding crashing over him once more. He pulled it out, his heart skipping a beat. "It's my grandfather." His stomach twisted at the implications. Did this mean something was changing? What did he want now? He glanced up at Sarah and Tyler, a lump in his throat. The next chapter was about to unfold, and he wasn't ready to step into that future alone. Would sharing his journey with those he cared for open the way to healing? With one deep breath, he pressed the screen to answer, preparing himself for whatever news awaited him on the other end. "Jake?" The voice on the other end was familiar but laced with an intensity that made his heart race. It was his grandfather, and the apprehension thickened the air around him. "Yes, Grandpa," Jake replied, trying to sound steady, but there was a tremor in his voice that he couldn't hide. "Listen carefully, son. We need to talk," his grandfather said, the weight of his tone echoing through the phone. "I've got news that you're going to want to hear." Jake's palms turned clammy. A knot twisted in his stomach, a mix of dread and curiosity. He glanced over at Sarah and Tyler, who had paused, sensing the shift in his mood. Their chatter faded to the background, leaving only his grandfather's voice. "It's about the trust fund," his grandfather continued, words brooding with significance. "It's not just for your college. There's more I haven't told you." Suddenly, all the laughter and soap bubbles faded into nothing. The trust fund had always been a looming presence in his life, a symbol of expectation and obligation. What more was there to unravel? "What do you mean?" He tried to keep his voice level. "What else is there?" "Meet me, Jake. We can't discuss this over the phone. It's about family, our legacy. And you have a choice to make." Jake's heart raced. A choice? The implications washed over him in waves. Responsibility? Freedom? Burden? And how did this tie into his own dreams? His eyes darted back and forth between the sunlight spilling over the car wash and the storm brewing inside him. Where? he managed to ask. The old diner. You remember it? Yeah, I do, he said, trying to keep the fear at bay. That diner was a relic of his childhood, filled with memories of laughter and family. But now it felt like a tomb where big revelations lay in waiting. Tomorrow at 4. Don't be late. With that, the line went dead, leaving his world spinning. What was that about? Tyler snapped him back to the moment, concern etched on his face. Jake shook his head, unsure if he should share. But something inside urged him on. This was bigger than his fears. It's about the trust fund. Grandpa wants to talk. Seems like there's more to it than just college money. Tyler's eyebrows shot up. More? Like what? Before Jake could respond, Sarah stepped closer, a worried smile on her face. Do you want us there with you? He wanted to scream yes. But the truth was, this was a conversation he had to face on his own. I think I need to do this alone. Jake, whatever it is, just know you're not alone, okay? Sarah said softly, her voice a warm balm to his frayed nerves. He nodded, grateful for her level-headedness. As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the car wash, Jake felt a tidal wave of uncertainty wash over him. This conversation with his grandfather could change everything. Would it bring him closure, or unravel a past he was just starting to come to terms with? With a heavy heart, he picked up the sponge again, scrubbing at nothing in particular, his mind racing with possibilities. He couldn't shake the feeling that whatever happened tomorrow would steer the course of his life in a new direction. What choices would he have to face? And more importantly, what truth awaited him at that diner? As the day faded into evening, he knew one thing for certain: stepping into that diner would be like stepping into the unknown, a door that could either bind him tighter to his family's legacy or break the chains that held him back. Tomorrow would reveal all. Jake had hardly slept the night before. Every time he closed his eyes, a new worry clutched at his chest. The moment his alarm rang, he was jolted awake, adrenaline pumping through his veins. He stared at the ceiling, waiting for the light of dawn to seep through the window. It was just another ordinary day, yet he felt trapped in a whirlwind of uncertainty. He shuffled into the kitchen where his mom was already at the coffee maker. The rich aroma filled the air, but even that couldn't shake the anxious tension coiling in his gut. You okay, honey? She asked, glancing over, her eyes soft with concern. Yeah, just tired. He forced a smile, aware that he wasn't fooling anyone. What's up? She pressed gently, her motherly instincts kicking in. Jake felt a lump rise in his throat. I've got a meeting later today with Grandpa. It's about the trust fund. Her expression shifted. The trust fund? What about it? He hesitated, not wanting to burden her with his swirling doubts. He didn't say. Just that there's more to it. She nodded, but a flicker of anxiety crossed her face. You know he cares about you, right? Whatever it is, you'll get through it. Just be honest with him. Jake nodded, though her words did little to ease the weight he felt. After breakfast, he stepped outside, the morning sun casting a golden glow over everything, almost mocking his unease. He took a deep breath and headed to the diner, each step feeling heavier than the last. When he arrived, the familiar neon sign flickered above. Memories flooded back: family dinners, laughter, the smell of fries sizzling, and his grandfather telling stories that made everything seem larger than life. Now, he approached the door with trepidation, the realities of adulthood crashing through his childhood comfort like a tidal wave. The diner was dimly lit, the booth in the corner where they often sat was empty, waiting. With each tick of the clock on the wall, the world outside seemed to fade. At exactly 4, the bell above the door chimed, and Jake's grandfather walked in. Time seemed to freeze as their eyes met. Jake, his grandfather greeted, his own expression carrying a mix of seriousness and warmth. I'm glad you came. Jake nodded, swallowing hard. He slid into the booth opposite his grandfather, who took a seat, leaning forward slightly. It's time for us to talk about our family, his grandfather began, his voice steady yet imbued with a sense of urgency that made Jake's heart race. There's so much more to the trust fund than you've been told. The weight of those words hung in the air. Jake could feel the walls of the diner closing in, as if the space itself held secrets too. As his grandfather spoke, lines etched deeper into his face, Jake's mind raced with questions. Why didn't you tell me before? He finally blurted out, his voice barely above a whisper. His grandfather sighed, a mix of regret and resolve written all over him. Because, Jake, there are things you need to learn yourself, lessons that shape who we are. Jake felt the room shift, a tension freezing them both. But what about my plans? My future? With a somber look, his grandfather reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn ledger. This, he said, sliding it across the table, will answer your questions. Jake's fingers hesitated on the edge of the ledger, 1,000 thoughts racing through him. What had he just stepped into? He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down as he opened the ledger to reveal a world he had never known. And suddenly, the diner felt like a crucible, a place where his past would collide with his future in ways he could never have imagined. As he scanned the first few lines, his breath caught. What was he about to discover? In that moment, everything shifted. The very course of his life was about to change, and Jake was not sure if he was ready for what lay ahead. Would he embrace the truth, or would it shatter the ideals he held close? Tomorrow, he hoped, would offer clarity. Today was shrouded in shadows and unanswered questions. Jake's eyes traced the spidery handwriting in the ledger. The ink faded, yet every word felt vibrant and heavy. He barely noticed the surrounding diner. All he could focus on was the history unfolding before him. The tales stuffed inside those pages were like shards of glass, cutting through the comfort he previously had. Jake, his grandfather urged, breaking through his spiraling thoughts, this is not just about money. It's about our family's legacy and the choices you're going to face. But Jake felt a swell of uncertainty. But why keep it from me? Why not just tell me everything? Because knowing too soon can change you in ways you might not be ready for. I thought you needed to find your own way, learn to navigate life first, his grandfather replied, a hint of sadness in his voice. As Jake flipped another page, it hit him hard, entries documenting a trail of hardship and resilience. There were names, dates, and instances of loss intertwined with survival. His family's past bubbled to the surface, an inheritance of scars. This was not just wealth but a testament to struggle, choices made under duress, love lost and found. His heart raced with each revelation. The entries spoke of his grandmother, who had fought fiercely to keep the family together after the factory had closed down, of how faith and hope had rebuilt their lives brick by brick. Each line was like a reminder of the victories that had once been written in defeat. What's the outcome of this? Jake asked, looking up, his mind swimming in a whirlpool of history and destiny. What does this mean for me? It means you have a choice, his grandfather said, leaning back, letting Jake process the overflowing emotions. The trust can be a safety net, but it also holds expectations, responsibilities. Jake swallowed hard, feeling the weight of those expectations resting heavily on his shoulders. He thought about his plans, college, a career, the independence he longed for. It's like I'm being asked to take on something I never wanted. Or like you're being given the strength to rise above what you're afraid of, his grandfather countered gently. Your path is yours to forge, Jake. You just have to choose which way you want to take it. Jake could sense the truth behind those words, they struck deeply within him. But with profound choice came immense pressure. The ledger wasn't just a testament to money, it was a mirror reflecting the struggles and triumphs he had yet to face. Do you want to know the rest? His grandfather asked, his eyes steady and watching. Jake nodded slowly, the mix of fear and anticipation washing over him. He was about to uncover even more than he bargained for, yet something told him he needed to know. Before we dive deeper, his grandfather continued, you should understand that with this knowledge comes a responsibility to our family, and to yourself. As his grandfather flipped to another entry, time slowed down. A chill ran through Jake, and he felt an urging to turn back, yet the grip of curiosity wouldn't allow it. What else lay sealed in these pages? Suddenly, the bell above the diner door chimed again, startling them both. A familiar face stepped inside, a friend from school, trailing laughter and sunshine. It shattered the stillness they had created, and Jake felt a twist in his gut. "Jake! There you are. What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice bright. Jake's breath caught in his throat. How could he explain this? How could he share the turmoil brewing beneath the surface when everything seemed so lighthearted on the outside? For a split second, he felt the walls of the diner close in once more, the weight of expectation hammering down. Would this meeting shatter his old life or pave the way for something new? As he glanced back at his grandfather, the ledger lay between them like a bridge to the unknown. Jake realized that the choice was his to make, and the truth was waiting to unfold. "Maybe I'm not ready," he muttered, conflicted over the revelations unfolding. But he knew he couldn't turn back now. As he took a breath, he understood deep down that what he learned today would ripple into tomorrow, shaping the man he was destined to become. And with that understanding locked in his heart, he felt his phone buzz sharply in his pocket, pulling his attention. He took it out. A text notification flashed across the screen. "Meet me. I need to talk. It's urgent." Jake's heart raced with uncertainty again. This day was about to turn in a direction he never expected, and he had to decide if he would take the leap. Would he dive into the truth, or retreat back to the comfortable past he once knew? The diner's lively atmosphere seemed to swirl around Jake as he stared at the buzzing phone in his hand. His friend, Emily, who had just breezed in like a fresh breeze on a hot summer day, awaited his response. The urgency of the text mixed with the competing emotions racing through him. "Hey. We were just, looking at some family stuff," Jake finally managed to say, struggling to find the right words. Emily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Family stuff? Sounds intense for a Saturday," she replied, her head slightly tilting to the side. "You okay?" Jake forced a smile, feeling the weight of secrets pushing down on him. "Yeah, just, you know how it is," he said, hoping to brush it off. But that smile felt more like a mask, barely concealing the storm brewing inside. The ledger lay open, silently beckoning him back into its world of heartache and resilience. Did he really want to drag Emily into his tangled web of family history? Deciding what to do felt monumental, like standing on the edge of a cliff with no clear view of what lay below. "Want to sit?" he asked, motioning to the booth across from him. She nodded, her eyes full of mischief as she slid in. "So, what's the scoop?" she pressed, resting her chin on her hand with eager anticipation. Jake glanced at his grandfather, who looked torn between the worlds of past and present. He spoke up, "Okay, real talk. How about we change gears? I got a text that sounds urgent. I think I should check it out." The light in Emily's eyes dimmed for just a second, but then she perked up. "Urgent? What is going on?" "I don't know." Jake hesitated, fingers dancing over the glass of the ledger. "But it might be important." "Then you should go. I can hang out here, or we can grab some coffee later. I just want to make sure you're good, you know." He knew she meant it. Emily always had a way of lifting him up, even when he was buried deep in his own thoughts. "All right, I appreciate that," he said, relief flooding over him. But as he shifted to get up, he hesitated again, glancing back at his grandfather. "Do you want me to come with you?" Emily asked, reading his hesitation. "No," he replied, shaking his head. "I think I need to figure this out on my own." His grandfather nodded, almost imperceptibly, as if accepting Jake's need for independence. The ledger seemed to vanish into the background, the urgency of the new text taking its place. As he made his way to the exit, the diner's sounds faded. Outside, the world felt brighter, louder, alive. He pulled up the message again. The name at the top sent a wave of confusion crashing over him. Lucas, his estranged cousin. They hadn't spoken in years. "Meet me at the old factory," it read. "I need to explain about the trust." Jake's heart dropped. The old factory? The very place his family's story was smeared with loss and heartbreak. What could Lucas want? Did he know about the ledger? Did he have secrets of his own? For a moment, he stood still, his mind racing through the chaos. Would confronting Lucas bring answers or only more questions? With Emily's bright smile behind him and the ghost of the ledger lingering in his thoughts, Jake felt pulled in two directions. The wind rustled through the trees, whispering promises of buried truths as his feet finally moved forward, leading him toward whatever awaited at the factory. Was he ready to face the family history that gripped him tighter than ever, or was he stepping into another storm? As he walked, the echoes of his past beckoned for resolution, and all at once, the load of expectation felt just a little lighter, but just as he reached his car, a thought hit him like a punch. What if Lucas is only looking out for himself? With uncertainty swirling like the leaves at his feet, Jake realized he was stepping into a labyrinth filled with shadows and choices. This was not just about the trust anymore. It was about discovering the truths that could either bind them together or break them forever. And as the factory loomed closer in his view, he felt a familiar darkness creep back into his heart. What would he find on the other side of those rusted doors? Jake took a deep breath, the air thick with anxiety as he approached the old factory looming like a ghost from his childhood. Memories whirled in his mind, days spent with Lucas, laughter echoing off the walls, until the air grew heavy with the weight of family secrets. The old brick structure stood defiant against the sky, rusted metal siding reminding him of the wounds hidden within. With each step, doubt gnawed at him. What if Lucas had spun a web of lies? What if this was all about money, not the brotherly bond they had once shared? Shadows clung to him like an old friend, wrapping around his insecurities. He paused for a moment, his heart racing. He glanced back, half expecting to see Emily wave him goodbye, but the street was empty. It felt like the world around him had faded, and he was about to plunge into his own dark chapter. He pushed the door open. The hinges creaked in protest, a haunting melody that sent shivers down his spine. Inside, dust motes danced in the shafts of light piercing through filthy windows. The air was thick and stale, carrying the scent of forgotten things. It felt almost sacred, each corner holding a piece of history that Jake was about to unravel. Or perhaps shatter. Jake! A voice called out, slicing through the silence. Lucas emerged from the shadows, his face a blend of relief and apprehension. He stepped closer, hands shoved deep into his pockets, as if he could keep the truth from escaping. "Thanks for coming." "Yeah, well, you said you had something to explain," Jake replied, trying to mask the tension building in his chest. "What's this about the trust?" Lucas shifted his weight, the unease palpable. "I didn't know how else to reach you. It's about the family. There are things you don't know, things that could change everything." Jake felt his heart thud painfully in his ribcage. The weight of this conversation threatened to explode, and he dreaded every word that was about to leave Lucas's lips. "You've got my attention," he pressed, urging Lucas to continue. "It's about our parents. They didn't just leave behind the trust. They left a legacy of choices. Choices that have fallen on us. You need to understand the full story to make sense of everything." The urgency in Lucas's voice felt like an anchor, forcing Jake to confront the tempest inside him. He had come here seeking clarity but found only more questions. "What do you mean? What choices?" Just then, the flickering overhead lights cast an eerie glow on Lucas's face, revealing something vulnerable in his expression. There was a bond there, however frayed, and Jake started to feel it tug at his heartstrings. "I can't just tell you over text," Lucas said, his voice low, almost vulnerable. "There's more at stake here than just money, Jake. It's about our family, our history. You're part of that history." Jake's mind raced, the shadows of doubt mingling with the glimmer of hope. Could Lucas be telling the truth? Marking the beginning of a new connection forged out of pain rather than profit? He took a step closer, his pulse quickening. "Then tell me everything," he urged, his tone firm. "I'm tired of living in the dark." As Lucas began to unspool their family's tangled past, Jake felt the walls of the factory swallow him whole. Each revelation tied him closer to the legacy of heartbreak and strength, each word weaving their fates together. But a sudden noise startled them both, echoing through the halls, a rattling crash like a reminder that the past was not so easily exorcised. Jake realized then that the shadows they faced were both outside and within. As they turned toward the sound, adrenaline surged through him. What more would emerge from the shadows? Jake felt the pull of uncertainty again, tightening around him. Was the truth worth the risk? What if there were things even darker than he anticipated hiding within their family's history? The echo of the crash faded, leaving an uneasy silence hanging over both brothers. Jake's heart raced, each beat thundering in his ears. The memories of their childhood slipped like grains of sand through his fingers. They were supposed to be stronger together, but the shadows were relentless. Lucas's eyes darted toward the source of the noise. "Stay here," he warned, stepping cautiously toward the darkened corner of the factory. Each footfall felt reverberant, amplifying the tension crackling in the air. Jake instinctively followed, the bond of brotherhood pushing him forward despite the instinct to retreat. As they rounded the corner, they found an old crate toppled over, spilling its rotten contents, fragments of paper and dusty trinkets scattered across the floor like forgotten dreams. "Just an old crate," Lucas muttered, but the strain in his voice betrayed him. "Doesn't he feel like just that?" Jake replied, his voice low, eyes fixated on a torn piece of paper lodged beneath the crate. He bent down, pulling out the stained document. The letters were barely legible, but he could make out a familiar name, their father. The weight of the paper felt heavy in his hands, a direct link to their past that he hadn't anticipated discovering here. As Jake studied it, a chill compared the words to every whispered secret he'd heard over the years. "What is it?" Lucas asked, tension wrapping around them tightly. Jake's brow furrowed as he continued to read. "It looks like a letter addressed to you." Lucas's face paled at the mention. "What?" "Give it to me." Jake hesitated but then handed it over, a sense of foreboding filling the air as Lucas unfolded the paper with trembling hands. As his brother read, Jake couldn't help but feel a weight shift between them, years of hurt layered over with curiosity. Lucas's voice shook as he spoke each word aloud. "If you're reading this, it means that the truth has become too much. The choices we made were to protect you both," he faltered, drawing in a breath. "Protect us from what?" Jake pressed. The thrill of urgency surged through him. "From our past," Lucas answered, his eyes flitting up to meet Jake's. "There were death's decisions made in desperation." Every word hung in the air like a warning, and Jake felt his stomach twist. "Debts? What debts?" "We were supposed to be protected. This trust, not just money, Jake," Lucas exclaimed, his hands shaking with the letter. "It's also about people, alliances we had to forge after everything went down." "I thought I was doing the right thing." "Doing what?" Jake shouted, frustration boiling over. "You've been keeping secrets while I've been out here trying to make sense of my life." The mention of secrets cracked something deep in Lucas. "I didn't want to drag you into this. You had your own life. I thought it was better. I thought I was being a good brother." The pain in Lucas's words hit Jake hard. How many years had he felt abandoned? And now, instead of closure, he stood before him, grappling with the fragments of a past he didn't even know existed. Before Jake could respond, another crash echoed through the factory. It pierced the air like a knife, sending both brothers sprawling back. The weight of unseen weight had shifted, knocking loose more than just dust. "Get back!" Lucas shouted, pushing Jake to the side as the lights flickered ominously overhead. "What the hell is happening?" Jake yelled, fear gripping him. As the dim light flickered, Jake realized that the chaos didn't just come from the factory's age. It was the past clawing at them, desperate to be unearthed. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, he wondered if the truth they sought would come at a cost greater than either of them could pay. "The truth won't just set us free," Lucas whispered, looking deeper into the darkness. "It may shatter everything we thought we knew." Jake's heart raced as the fear and uncertainty tightened around him again. What would they have to face next? What shadows lived within this place, waiting to be found? Jacob stood in the center of the old factory, a kaleidoscope of feelings swirling inside him. He could hear Lucas's breathing, quick, jagged, matching the rhythm of fear pounding in his own chest. The air felt thicker, as if the past was inching closer, whispering their family's hidden secrets in the shadows around them. "Are we ready for this?" Jacob asked as he steadied himself against a rusting beam, his fingers gripping the cold metal as if it could anchor him to reality. Lucas turned to him, his eyes wide, the letter still clutched tightly in his hand. "I've been running from this for too long, Jake. We can't let our past dictate our future. We have to face it together." Suddenly, a violent crash shattered the tense silence, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Both brothers instinctively ducked, the sound reverberating through the air with an unsettling familiarity. "What was that?" Jacob shouted over the noise, adrenaline fueling his resolve. "I don't know." Lucas yelled back, his voice barely cutting through the chaos. "But we need to find out." With a nod, they stepped deeper into the shadows, each step echoing the uncharted territory of their fractured relationship. Jacob felt the pull of uncertainty, the haunting truth lurking just out of reach. "Let us see what we uncover," he murmured, pushing against the fear lacing the air. As they rounded a corner, the sight before them took their breath away. A wall of rusted metal sheets stood tall, partially shielding what appeared to be an old office. It was a relic of their father's time, a place that had witnessed the rise and fall of dreams. "This might be it," Lucas whispered, hardly able to contain his excitement and dread. They pushed open the door, creaking on its hinges, revealing a room cloaked in dust and silence. Faded photographs hung crookedly on the walls, depicting the essence of a life before loss. Gathering courage, Jacob stepped inside, scanning the surroundings for anything that would shed light on their family's entangled past. "Look!" Lucas exclaimed, pointing toward a small desk shrouded in cobwebs. There lay stacks of papers, dust motes swirling around them like a fog of forgotten memories. Jacob moved closer, unfolding a stack of documents tied together with fraying string. As he flipped through them, his heart raced. "These are a mix: reports, letters, even invoices." "Invoices?" Lucas echoed, his brow furrowing as they exchanged anxious looks. Jacob met his gaze, knowing the weight they were carrying together. "Dealing with our family's debts. Stories not captured in the ledger." The tension clawed at them, the fear of what they might find mixing with the hope of realization. One by one, they pored over the documents. A clearer picture started emerging: their father's struggle to keep the family afloat, a business that once thrived now barely surviving, all while maintaining a facade of success. The family had held on through sheer willpower, masking vulnerability behind smiles and structured rows of cash flow. "With each document, our family's reality comes alive," Jacob said, voice tense but determined. "This debt, it's connected to the trust fund. If we don't liberate ourselves from these mistakes, we might become prisoners." "Again?" Lucas nodded, eyes wide with understanding. "This isn't just about money. It's our history, our identity. We can either break free or get pulled into the same cycle." With newfound resolve, they decided together. They needed to confront the legacy, not just the financial burden but the emotional chains that had kept them shackled. "Let us take this to the community," Jacob proposed, the idea swirling in his mind like a beacon of hope. "We'll tell them everything. They deserve to know." Lucas hesitated but then nodded. "They have the right to help us make it right, to help heal our family and this town once and for all." Determination surged through them as they made their exit. The oppressive shadows of the factory felt lighter, as if the truth had been exorcised and had ushered in liberation. Back in the clearing light of day, both brothers stood side by side, hearts swelling with purpose. Jacob glanced at Lucas, and in that moment, a real bond flickered to life, given strength through their shared history and shared burden. He reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone. "We need to rally the town tonight. They should be part of this journey. It's time to bring everyone together." Lucas managed a genuine smile, that glimmer of brotherly loyalty sparkling in the air. "Let us show them that we can rewrite our future together." As evening fell, their plan unfurled beneath the golden glow of the setting sun. With every step, they felt more in tune, no longer separated by secrets but united against the ghosts of their past. They did demonstrate that the weight of their family didn't need to carry shame. It was an opportunity for transformation. Days later, standing in front of their community, lights twinkling under the star-studded sky, Jacob took a deep breath. The crowd swelled with hope and curiosity, friends and family willing to support one another. With his heart racing, he spoke with conviction, "This trust fund, this legacy isn't just about money. It's about reclaiming our heritage, our past mistakes, and turning them into something greater. We can bridge our families together and break these cycles of hardship." A chorus of murmurs bubbled through the crowd, disbelief shifting to shared faith. Together, they built upon those dreams, fostering connections rooted in the values Jake and Lucas had always upheld, the strength of their family and their community. Tears glistened in the eyes of familiar faces, joy painting the crowd, reminding them of the rich tapestry of emotions that tied them all together. In the days to come, they raised funds not just to clear debts but to invest in their collective future: scholarships, community projects, true collaboration. The trust fund became a foundation for growth rather than an anchor that weighed them down. As the sun began to rise every day, Jake felt his heart swell with purpose. Together, they were turning a tarnished legacy into a shining beacon of hope. The past ceased to define them. They were forging a bright path forward, one built on the power of family, community, and most importantly, honesty. And in that culmination of clarity and courage, Jake learned a profound lesson. True wealth lies not in money hoarded but in the lives transformed, the bonds mended, and the promise of tomorrow crafted with love and unity. You've reached this incredible conclusion. Now it's your turn to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others hear this amazing tale. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. The journey has only just begun. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and inspire them to step into their own legacies. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the significance of lifting each other up.